What is up, Drama Horror Nation? I'm your host, resident gnome Keemstar. Let's jump right into the fucking news. Now, our top story today is coming from YouTube themselves. Could you actually believe it, guys? Today, YouTube has announced that they're going to be potentially removing the dislike button, and that sent the entire commentary community and a bunch of other retards into a fucking frenzy. But I believe that potentially they may be onto something, because it could be that YouTube is doing this to benefit the billionaire corporations and late night TV show hosts that have been invading YouTube in the last months. So, we are going to hand over to QuinntonTV, who's going to explain this in a much more less biased view than I do, and I'm not going to let him call someone a predator. That's my fucking job. Hey guys, QuinntonTV here, and welcome to a brand new video where today we are back with another half commentary video. Now, in this video we're going to be talking about something that happened fairly recently in the YouTube community, and yeah, that is an announcement that Zypha put on his Instagram story. If you haven't seen that, I recommend you go and give him a follow. I'll try and leave it as a link down below. I'm pretty sure, actually no, this video is going out on Friday, so I don't think that it will still be up. But either way, go and give him a follow. He makes pretty good videos, and it's a good way to stay up to date with all of his content. So definitely go and give him a follow. But anyway, what we're going to be talking about today is the fact that YouTube have announced that they may be potentially removing the dislike button. Now, I say potentially because it's only in trial stages at the moment, and there are certain people that are involved in this trial, and if you are involved in this trial, if you make YouTube videos as well, you'll see a dislike bar publicly that looks a little bit like this. Now, essentially, as you can see, the likes are still there, but the dislike button is also still there, but it just doesn't display the dislikes to the public. So you can view them as a creator, but you can't, the public can't see them. Now, I can understand where this has come from. Essentially, dislike spamming has been quite a big problem on YouTube, and it's affected some people's mental health, which I completely understand. But as many people know, I'm completely against this decision, as Keemstar stated in the intro, because I genuinely believe that this isn't done to benefit small creators, because YouTube doesn't give a fuck about its own creators, which is fairly fucking obvious at this point. They've lied to us in the past, they've made decisions such as the whole, adpocalypse thing, which has just completely fucked over creators and made them complete shadows of their former selves. Like, for example, people who used to, make quite edgy content like iDubbbz and Leafy have just completely fucking disappeared. Leafy was terminated, and iDubbbz has basically faded into fucking obscurity. Like, I don't know anyone that still fucking watches the guy, but YouTube has effectively forced people to change their content, and then they go around and say that they actually care about these creators. No, they fucking don't. That's complete bullshit. Like, why would a platform that is basically dedicated to having, people who are pretty ordinary and don't have these high budgets for making their YouTube videos. Like, I get some YouTube videos, like podcasts and that, have a pretty high budget, but even then, it's only like maybe a couple $100 to £1,000. But then you get these late night TV show hosts which have been invading YouTube in the last few months, and you know exactly what I'm on about. Like, if you've been on YouTube and you go on the recommended section, it'll only be a matter of time before you're recommended, like, Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Fallon, that other fucking fat cunt, whatever his name is. It's just insane how I keep getting recommended these videos when I've never watched one, and I don't intend to, because believe it or not, I don't think they're funny, and I'd much rather watch an individual with, a creative passion, rather than some multi-million-dollar industry trying to force their way onto YouTube, and eventually, I honestly could see YouTube going into a YouTube TV where it's just full of these fucking retards. Like, honestly, I could see YouTube going that way in the future. Like, it wouldn't surprise me that YouTube would just completely fuck off all of its old creators and say, haha, you thought we actually cared about you? No, we're going to go with these people because they make us more money, and yeah, they also have $1 million budgets and they can actually pay to put their shit on the internet, while you lot make shit videos that we don't like because they might be deemed offensive, so go fuck yourselves, essentially. So I am going to go quickly over the positives and the negatives of these, of this new decision that YouTube has made, but bearing in mind this is only in an experimental stage. It could be that, this never even happens. Like, YouTube, people might kick up such a massive stink about it that YouTube just completely decides to scrap it, or they might think that it's a complete logistical nightmare and, scrap it in that way. We don't know what's going to happen here. But, I'm going to just outweigh the positives and the negatives of this, and at the end I'll, state my own opinion a little bit more than I already have. So, let's jump straight into this. So for me, I think the argument for is pretty damn simple. This is what you've probably seen Zypha and maybe Xavvo, I'm not even too sure. I'm pretty sure they were talking about this on Twitter, and obviously I gave my 2 cents over on Twitter, which is basically a dumbed down version of this video. But essentially, the advantages of this is that dislikes aren't exactly going away. To completely remove dislikes would be an absolutely terrible idea, in my opinion, because it just means that people aren't, say for example, if someone turns comments off or they don't have them on in the first place, there's absolutely no way to give negative feedback on that video. But since they're there, and only the video author could actually, see these dislikes, it's like they haven't gone away. It just means that people don't get a kick out of dislike spamming, which is something very prevalent in our little YouTube community. It basically, if only you can see the dislikes, then only you can tell if there's been dislike spamming. And when people see a lot of dislikes on videos as well, they tend to click off, which is a known fact, because say people who are coming from the search results or other places, they see these videos with a bunch of dislikes, and they essentially don't watch the video because they think, oh wow, it's going to be shit, isn't it? So they don't exactly watch the whole video, they might watch like a few seconds, and then notice the dislikes and go like, oh shit, I'm not watching the rest of this. And that could definitely influence their opinion on the video, just because some people have been spam disliking their videos, which is, a pretty common thing for small YouTubers who have people that don't really like them, tend to dislike spam just so they think they can make a difference and like trying to drive them off YouTube or something, which it doesn't fucking work at the end of the day. But yeah, that is pretty much the argument for it. I guess there could be some all little smaller nuances to this whole thing, like I'm not exactly too sure, but I do think that the main oh my god, that is a really loud car. Fucking hell. But yeah, I think the main advantage to that is it kind of like negates the whole dislike spamming thing, because people won't be able to see the dislikes they're leaving, and it obviously people coming to check out the video will be like, well, they won't be as influenced or swayed as you may by the dislikes on the video, which is probably a good thing. At the end of the day, when there is a dislikes, when there's actual dislike spammers on a channel, it really can bring down the overall view of watching a video if they don't watch it for themselves, because obviously a lot of people don't tend to think for themselves. Like, they'll say, oh, this thing's bad, it must be bad. Other people are saying it's bad, it must be shit. But they don't tend to give it a try themselves. They just tend to listen to what other people tell them, which is, a trait in all of us to an extent. Like, yeah, Battlefield 5, for example, I was told that was shit, so I didn't play it myself, and I played it and I found out it was shit for myself. So, yeah, you gotta make your own opinions on certain things. Like, it's much better to do that. So, if you see a lot of dislikes on videos, definitely try to give it a watch unless unless you've seen it already, then, yeah, pretty much. If it's like YouTube Rewind, you already know that's gonna be so shit, so, but other people's videos, when you see a lot of dislikes, probably best you give it a shot. If you really don't like it, that's fair enough. Leave a dislike for yourself. I'm not arsed at all. But, yeah, it's just like dislikes were meant to be a way to give feedback to creators, but in the end it's just turned into a way for people to weaponize it in a sense when they get into beef with people, or, they could just like, leave a bunch of dislikes because they don't like the person, essentially. But, you know, completely going against what the dislike button was originally meant for. It's meant to show that you dislike the video. You're meant to leave one dislike because you dislike the video. Like, say, for example, I'm watching YouTube Rewind. I don't go and spam dislike it with a bunch of accounts. I just dislike it once and maybe leave a comment saying how shit it was. And that's it. You don't really go any further than that, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this section, I guess you could say. There's not really too much else to it. So yeah, we're going to move on now to probably the more detailed section, because I have a few arguments for this. As I said, I've kind of already mentioned one of them, but I'm going to try and get into a bit more detail with that. But yeah, let's move on to why I think the dislikes shouldn't be, you know, made private. So, I'm not sure if you can actually hear it, but my dad has decided to start jet washing the patio outside, so if there's any of that in the background, I sincerely apologise, but I have to get this video out. It's now Saturday as I'm recording this. I started production of this video on Wednesday, and it's now Saturday, so Friday I was meant to get this up and get it up today, but I've decided to make this Sunday's video instead of Skyrim, so I apologise for that if you were looking forward to Skyrim. But now we're going to talk about the negative aspects of this. So really, when you think about it, the dislikes aren't really gone, so in a traditional sense, it's not that big of a deal, because obviously the people who actually, you know, need to see the dislikes can still see them, and that's the video author. So in a traditional sense, there's not really that much wrong with it, other than the fact it's just fucking dumb, in my opinion. Like, I don't really see the point of it, other than obviously, you know, to prevent dislike spamming on smaller channels. But in my opinion, that is not why YouTube has made this decision. I think that they've done it to benefit these, you know, these late night TV show hosts that the YouTube platform doesn't tend to like, because they've kind of been invading YouTube in the last few months. Like, how many times have you guys been recommended a fucking late show or late show clip that you don't give a fuck about, and they're literally everywhere over your recommended? Like, it's not even funny how many that have appeared on my recommended. Like, I've never even watched one, I don't think, and yet they're still in my recommended, and it's almost as if YouTube is trying to, you know, subconsciously push these videos onto all of us. And one of the reasons I bring up this in connection with the dislike stuff is because these things aren't very well liked by the community, so it's kind of like YouTube is giving them like a safe space, because let's be honest, it's not them that looks at the dislikes. They've obviously got teams that upload these to YouTube. They don't upload them, so they can see the dislikes and, you know, potentially go, oh yeah, this video was really well received, to obviously like Stephen Colbert or something, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna start making more videos on YouTube because there's been a pretty good reception over there, when in actuality the dislikes are just completely hidden, and it won't surprise me if they start hiding comments relatively soon. I mean, obviously if you swear in YouTube comments, they tend to hide it anyway, or, you know, you can block certain users, but it's just like, it's a very easy way to make things look better than they actually do if people, you know, can't see the dislikes. For example, YouTube Rewind, that comes out nearly every year. I don't think there was one last year, but they come out nearly every year, and they're never very well received. So it's kind of like, with the dislikes gone, people won't be able to see how genuinely bad these videos have been received unless YouTube releases a statement. And obviously YouTube, they're not exactly the most trustworthy of people. They're more likely to lie, and they'll say, oh yeah, this YouTube Rewind is the best received ever, and after 2018's Rewind, which was an absolute fucking travesty, they're going to want to try and maintain a positive image with YouTube Rewind, so it would make sense that they'd cover up the dislikes that they actually get on a potential new one. Now, whatever this means, who fucking knows, but I just genuinely think YouTube is going to make it even more of a safe space on their platform. Like, remember back in the day when YouTube... What the fuck is that? Oh, I think my dad's spraying the windows. Do you guys remember when YouTube used to be just a place when you could state your opinion and people would get offended in the comments and YouTube wouldn't take down your video? yeah, and it just makes more sense that YouTube is trying to push this more safe space narrative and, you know, try and encourage more TV show hosts to come to the platform so there can be an even more influx of trash TV shows that no one will ever watch, but YouTube will still keep sending them down the pipeline, because fucking hell, they're good at that. But if you think that this has been done to benefit small creators, I'm sorry, but you're fucking delusional. YouTube has pretty much said, like, obviously it's there in all but words, like, their actions, it really does fuck us all over as small YouTubers, but YouTube doesn't give a shit about small YouTubers. They don't care, they don't make them any money, they're just there, so YouTube just tends to try and ignore them, and even bigger YouTubers they're starting to ignore a lot more. Like, PewDiePie has been censored so many fucking times that he's basically had to, you know, really tone down his content as well. iDubbbz completely faded into obscurity, which was partially his own doing with the whole, you know, the simp situation, but it's like YouTube has been trying to push, like, edgy content off the platform completely to try to make it an even, like, just bigger safe space, and obviously it's a safe space for these YouTubers that get absolutely offended over everything, and also a safe space for these late night TV show hosts that just want to invade the platform to make extra money. And, you know, YouTube is completely losing its identity in that regard. Like, it's no longer a site where, Dad, can you please stop fucking spraying that on things that make a loud noise? But yeah, YouTube is completely losing its identity. It's gone from a platform where you can literally share whatever you want, be it from, like, stupid videos you record with your friends, or, like, just even commentary videos like this one, which could actually be edgy back in the day. And another example of that is Leafy. Leafy got completely terminated, which I still think Pokimane had something to do with that. Like, 100% she had something to do with it. But, yeah, it's just like, YouTube's becoming even more of a safe space for these TV show hosts and these YouTubers that are perpetually offended. Dislikes are part of that problem. These retards that like to state their opinions about there being 10,000 genders or whatever the fuck they say, you know, that bullshit, but it's like they get a lot of dislikes, so they've probably been complaining, and YouTube obviously wants to enforce that whole PC narrative, so you can probably, as I've been stating throughout this, you can probably piece together why they've been, you know, making these dislikes private, and it would not surprise me if in like 2 years or so they say, okay, we're completely getting rid of dislikes because it makes people upset. Boo fucking who. So it appears now that some noisy-ass birds have decided to move in across the street, so that's fun as hell. But anyway, in conclusion today, YouTube removing the dislikes, I do see a lot of positives to it, mainly the fact that, you know, only the author can view these dislikes and they're not actually gone, which is also a good thing, because honestly, if they'd completely removed the dislikes, I'd be, you know, kind of a bit worried, because it's just, you know, further reinforcing this whole safe space narrative. But what I am greatly concerned about is this is probably only the beginning of YouTube trying to make it a lot more, like, PC and a lot more family friendly, and obviously pushing this narrative a lot further. It's only just the beginning, guys. In a few years they're going to be censoring comments even more than they already do. Dislikes will probably be gone completely, and yeah, honestly, just, you know, it just makes me think that YouTube really is just going down the shithole, because what the fuck are they doing with some of these management decisions? Honestly, it's just YouTube is going to become, continue to become more and more of a safe space, and that's not good for people like me, and people who like to make semi-offensive jokes, like even then people swearing as well. They're probably going to crack down on that again relatively soon. But anyway, that's going to be it for today's video here. If you did enjoy, please leave a like and subscribe. I am going to try and get a Minecraft video out tomorrow, and I'm going to try and keep it at least once a week right now. Obviously, I want to bring back Minecraft Monday, as I called it in some earlier videos, so be on the lookout for that. But anyway, that's going to be it for today's video here. If you did enjoy, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Damn, YouTube's becoming even more terrible by the minute.